and welcome to another video. I have an exciting video for you today. This is a video that has been in the making for a while now, and it's a little bit unique in the fact that it's something that I've been keeping track of during this time. So, as you can see from the title, these are the top 10 fragrances that I am going to purchase. These are the top 10 fragrances that I'm going to purchase now that my embargo is up. I put myself on a non-fragrance purchasing embargo if it wasn't related to a review for the past year, just because Becky and I, my wife, we've been saving up for, to get married, basically. So we had a lot of things to pay for. We've been saving up for, putting a down payment on a house. We've been saving up for a lot of things. And one of the first things that was jettisoned outside of anything that was review related was buying extraneous fragrances. And so I tabled that, I put it to the side and said, all right, I'm not going to spend any money on this just because we're going to focus our efforts on this. But after the wedding passes and the new year comes into it, 2016 is a completely different story. I don't have those obligations anymore, and I've got a list of fragrances that have been on my mind and that I want to purchase. So that's where this list is. So these are the fragrances that I will be purchasing in 2016 at some point or another. Hopefully we'll be purchasing. And that's pretty much the backstory for this, all right? So let's just go ahead and get right into the actual fragrances themselves. Let's start off with the first fragrance. And now this is actually in no particular order. These are just the 10 fragrances I'm listing off. They're all going to be purchased, no high, no low. These are the fragrances I'm going to be purchasing, all right? Let's start off with number one. The first fragrance that I'm going to be purchasing is actually a fragrance from the house of Dolce & Gabbana. This fragrance I reviewed, already, and I thought it was a perfect 10 out of 10. We're talking about Dolce & Gabbana's The One Parfum version. Now the One Parfum, again, for me, it was very similar to the One. The main difference with the One Parfum version was that it felt like a stronger version of the One. It still retained a lot of the same qualities, but to me, it was a stronger version and it had a little bit more of a darker sense to it. So for that reason alone, I'm going to be purchasing this fragrance almost assuredly. I actually thought about purchasing it, but I was like, all right, you know what? Let me stick to my guns and wait for the fragrance embargo to end. All right, so the first one, Dolce & Gabbana's The One Parfum version. The second one comes from the house of Dior. When I did this review, and I've reviewed this one as well too, it got a vast amount of positive review or feedback on it, and I did get some negative feedback on this one just because a lot of people didn't feel the same way that I thought about this fragrance. We're talking about Youre Salvage. Now, I talked about Youre Salvage, and I said that I probably would not buy it. I think I said just because I have Dolce or just because I have Bleu de Chanel, which I felt they're in the same vein, and I still do think they're in the same vein. But for a fragrance that is just so positive amongst other people who smell it on you, I feel that it's definitely a fragrance that has to be in my collection for that sheer reason alone. I do love the actual scent. It comes off it's a very versatile scent that can work for almost any occasion that you can possibly think of. And for that reason alone, I think it's going to definitely serve as one of those fragrances that I reach for when I'm not quite sure what to wear, or if I know I definitely want to smell good and want to smell pleasing to those who are around me and that they will smell me. So Youre Salvage is a fragrance that will fit that bill and will definitely be in my collection. I will be purchasing, right? So the next fragrance on the list is one from the house of Hermes. We are talking about Terre de Hermes, the Eau Fraiche version. Now this is a fragrance that I have also reviewed. This fragrance I reviewed earlier on in the year and I was floored by it. The original Terre de Hermes I always thought was a great fragrance and it was really well designed. But it would be one that I would reach for occasionally, yes or no. And I could still see why people loved it. Now the Eau Fraiche version, on the other hand, absolutely floored me. I thought that the way that the fragrance came off was very mature, very inviting, very unique, and just absolutely fantastic. And so for that reason, I will be purchasing Terre de Hermes, the Eau Fraiche version, the flanker. All right. Now the next fragrance on my list, at number 4, we've got a fragrance, another one from Hermes. We're talking about Voyage Hermes. Now, I should have clarified, Voyage Hermes, the EDP version, not the EDT. I have the EDT, and it's actually being bundled to sell, but the EDP version is really what I'm going after, because the EDP, from what I've smelled so far, seems to be just like the EDT, only that it's a lot stronger, which is the only downfall that I really thought of the EDT. So the EDP, can't really go wrong with it, because I just think that the smell is just to die for. And so it's definitely going to be in my collection. So Voyage Hermes, the EDP version. Now, the next fragrance on the list is a fragrance from the house of Creed. I had this fragrance at one point, but I actually bought the other version of it. There are 2 versions. We are talking about Creed's Royal Water. Now, Creed's Royal Water, I had the original, the Princess Di version. There are 2 versions. There's one in a frosted bottle, which is the older Princess Di version. It's a little bit more floral, and there's one that's in kind of more of a clear bottle, and that one is the, it's sharper, it's more citrus, and it's the quote-unquote regular version of Creed's Royal Water, and that's the one that I'm really targeting. I sold the Princess, or sorry, I didn't sell the Princess Di version. I gave it away to a relative, and I really have got to get the version that I was gunning for, which is the normal Royal Water. I think it's an underrated Creed fragrance that has been overshadowed by a ton of other Creed fragrances, but Creed, you know, it just has a lot of great fresh fragrances, and this one is no exception to the rule. So Creed's Royal Water. The next fragrance we have on our list is from the house of Byredo. We're talking about Byredo's Bal d'Afrique. Now, Bal d'Afrique is a fragrance that I discovered, like, I think it was 2-3 years ago. I remember I'd gone sniffing with a couple of fragrance buddies and friends, Frunkinator being one of them, Igor another one, Lewis another one, and we were in, I think it wasn't Bergdorf Goodman, but it was another one of those department stores that's on the kind of close to the Upper East Side near 59th Street. I'm forgetting the name of what it is. I think it Saks? No, maybe it was. Anyways, we were there sniffing fragrances, and they had Byredo fragrances there. I remember going through the line, smelling them. I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good. These are pretty good. This is nice here. This is nice there. But the one that stuck off and hit me like a bolt of lightning was Bal d'Afrique. And I was like, this is amazing. But at the time, I'd actually bought like 2 other fragrances. So I was like, you know what? I can't, drop close to $1,000 in the same day on fragrances. I'm going to leave this and buy this at a later date. I kept forgetting about the actual fragrance, and it kept skipping my mind, and then other people started bringing up, oh, there's this fragrance, Bal d'Afrique, and I was like, oh, that's the scent that I was, looking for, I was trying to target, and I kept forgetting, but now I'm remembering it, I'm writing it down, I've got this scent, or I'm going to get this scent. We're talking about Bal d'Afrique, so it's going to be in my collection. I absolutely love it. Next one is another designer fragrance. This one is from the house of Giorgio Armani. We're talking about Acqua di Gio Profumo version. Now, Acqua di Gio Profumo, it's a flanker, obviously, of the original Acqua di Gio, but I've always maintained that this is probably the best of the flanker series. I think it's better than Essenza, and I think it's better than the original Acqua di Gio. This one is a little bit more of a spicier. It's got a little bit more of a, I think like a sweeter scent to it. And I remember I've actually reviewed this one as well too, and I was immediately impressed by this one, and I thought that it was good enough for me to actually get in my collection. So that's another one that I'm going to go ahead and purchase, is Acqua di Gio Profumo. Now, the next fragrance that we have is from the house of Rzeszow. We're talking about Rzeszow's Neo. Now, Neo is a fragrance that had been hyped up by other fragrance reviewers, and I always thought, you know, okay, this is an okay scent, because I think I'd smelled it in passing like once or twice, but I never actually got a chance to wear it and smell it through. Well, I finally did, and the results of it was like, at first I was like, you know what, this is a pretty good scent, and the second time I wore it, I was like, this is an outstanding scent. I actually really like this scent a lot. I didn't get that many compliments on this one, but this one is more for my enjoyment, if you will. I'm not saying that this is not a compliment getter. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is, with my limited exposure and what I've done with it, I haven't actually reviewed this scent yet, but I still feel that it's one that I want in my collection. So, Rzeszow's Neo. It's a pretty penny, but I think it's well worth it. All right. The next scent that I'm gonna be purchasing is one that I've been targeting for a while now. It's from the house of Le Labo. We're talking about Poivre 23. Now, Poivre 23, this one, okay, so this one's got a little bit of history behind it. I've always loved this scent. I thought the mix between vanilla and pepper is just something that is just magical. And it does so well in almost any month that you can put it off of, and I think it's just so unique. The only problem that I have with this one, it's so freaking expensive. This is the London exclusive fragrance, and that price tag just hurts. And so I've always kind of gone back and forth with whether or not I'm going to purchase this scent, just because that price tag. Man. But I think I'm going to knuckle under and finally purchase it. I came really close to purchasing it once. I think Frank was selling his, and another one of our friends bought it up before I could. So I almost had it in my hands, but not. But I think I'm finally just going to say, you know, to heck with it. I'm going to go ahead and purchase it from Le Labo and be done with it. Right? So Poivre 23, right, is the scent that I'm going to have in my collection. And for the final scent that we're talking about today, we're talking about from the one from the house of Amouage. We're talking about Jubilation 25. Now, Jubilation 25 or Jubilation XXV, this is a scent that it's been on my radar for a while now as well too, but I've always kind of waffled back and forth. It's a lot of these fragrances that you're going to find, at least for me, once you start thinking about paying 200 plus, 300 plus, is when I really start to think and sit down and be like, okay, well, do I really need this scent? Is this something that I really like enough that I'm going to go ahead and drop $300 on? Because $300 to me, that's, you know, a good, you know, 6 pretty good bottles of whiskey, or 3 pretty good bottles of whiskey, or something that I can enjoy more frequently than it. And I mean, everyone has to make their own decision, and these are just my decisions for why sometimes I struggle with it. But this one, I think it's going to go on to my purchase. I mean, it is on my purchase list, and I will be purchasing it. So I think I finally just kind of tipped over. All right. So that's my fragrances that I'm going to be purchasing once my embargo is done, and that's pretty much it. Let me know what fragrances that you guys are targeting, that you're interested in, and you will be purchasing in the next upcoming year. All right, and 2016, obviously. All right, so take care of yourselves, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.